Moving to Miami was the biggest change of. I mean, everything happened in my wife and I's life at the same time. We had lived in New York, we'd lived in Chicago, then New York, then Chicago again, and kind of in the space of like a year and a half, we, had a baby, moved to Miami, bought a house, and got a real job. All of those things happened to me in the space of like 18 months. So it was a huge transformation. But the biggest, in some ways, the biggest ones of those was going from northern or northeastern places to Miami, which is just not like any other American landscape. So it was a huge shift. Now, I mean, we wanted to come to Miami. We knew Miami. My wife's grandparents had retired to Miami Beach and lived here since the early '60s. But it was an extremely exciting, strange novel. It was just about as like landing on Mars, as far as in terms of what our previous experience had shown us. For it's just the inversion of Chicago in every way. Here we are. It's January, and so therefore the weather's beautiful. In Chicago, we'd be hiding indoors. But in Chicago, you're going to have nice weather in the summer, and here you have to hide indoors. It's the kinds of people that live here, the way the city's organized, everything about it is just the opposite of those kind of cities. And it's been, it's also emblematic of where Chicago is very much of where America was, and Miami is much more like kind of what America's evolving towards in its multiculturalism and in its kind of spread out, post-industrial or kind of never industrialized kind of aspect. So Miami is a great place to be. Given that I do often write about America, not always, it's been great because it's a whole other contact with the American tradition. Again, this forward-looking kind of. I mean, Miami was born as a big place post World War II, so it's a kind of still evolving city. Changed my writing quite a bit in that I had written about a lot of things, but one thing I never was accused of being was like a nature writer. Because the natural world in Chicago is not that thrilling. It's a place on the prairie next to the lake. You experienced the natural world in South Florida in an amazing way, just because of how beautiful it is, but also because you're actually at a place where you still see America's kind of frontier happening. I mean, you still go over to Southwest Florida and here's where Fort Myers ends and here's where the untouched landscape begins, and they're still bulldozing that back, kind of golf course by golf course. So you're seeing both the beauty of our extraordinary world down here, but also the way the human landscape trounces that and tramples over it, and so that's become a much bigger part of my sensibility as a writer, is just attending to the natural world, because I'd always lived in big cities in which one wasn't paying a lot of attention to anything other than the human landscape.